Hi, everyone. It's Ruth back with another edition of Do Tell Virtually. It's at the end of July, and a lot of the questions that we're seeing through the interwebs and the media are about how we're going to go back to school. And I am right in the middle of those conversations with two kids in high school myself. But a few weeks ago, when we were in a studio working on a workshop with our guest today, Michelle Schroeder-Lowrey, we decided to interview her with a few questions about how she met the social and emotional needs of her elementary school students as a music, movement, and theater teacher. Her answers were so really compelling that we decided to go ahead and flip it to the podcast. I had to do a little editing and re-record my questions because I wasn't prepared that they were going to be so interesting to hear. I would argue as well that her perspectives that have been born out of her study of positive psychology also blended in with her support to not just students, but parents and her peers. I hope you find this podcast as interesting to listen to as it was to record. Please help me welcome Michelle Schroeder-Lowrey to the Do Tell Virtually podcast. Michelle, for our listeners, introduce yourself if you would.
My name is Michelle Schroeder-Lowrey, and I am a teacher of music, movement, and drama in a lower school of a private school.
So, in the spirit of teaching something that really needs to be taught in person and fitting into our theme of how to move from live to virtual, and also teaching kids online who have really short attention spans, tell us how you made that pivot.
Sure. So my first thought was, this is going to be impossible. And almost immediately, I switched gears into I am going to make sure that my kids see me as myself and they have our same routine to follow. And we're still going to sing together. I'm going to make sure that they have time and space within what I record to feel like they have participated and been singing and working with me. I'm going to bring my puppets. I'm going to bring my instruments, and I'm going to take what I would do in a half an hour, and I'm going to take the most important pieces of that and condense it down to a good 6-minute video. So that was it felt a little overwhelming at first. At the same time, I missed them so much that I would often start my video by saying, "Good morning, kindergarten. It's Mrs. Schroeder-Lowrey here. I miss you," just to give them the opportunity to feel their feelings as well. I had heard from a few parents how much they missed our classes, and I wanted to make sure they knew that I missed them too. And then I would sing the greeting and let them, leave space for them to sing back to me, and maybe mouth the words along with their response, what I assumed their response would be. I wanted them to know I was still me and they were still them. And even though we weren't in the same space together, we could still have that connection and share our music together.
So, dig a little deeper for me on the theme about social and emotional needs, meaning you're showing up for what you need to feel good to be their teacher, but change the character in the story for a second about them and how they are feeling and how you were able to provide safe spaces.
So, part of my work at school is work in flourishing and social emotional learning. And I've had some additional training in that. And I noticed for myself that when I would show up to film a video, that sometimes I was feeling anxious or frustrated or angry or sad. And I have used emotion in my classes when we're working with songs or using songs to talk about things that maybe I notice something's happening in the class. There's some turmoil or somebody's angry. Well, let's sing this song in an angry voice. um, so one day in particular, I decided I was really feeling a little grumpy and not excited about having to record a lesson. Like I would just much rather be with them in the classroom. So I sang the welcome song and I sang it in a really like completely grumpy voice. I was so grumpy, you sing a song, just really grouchy. And I almost stopped recording. And then I thought, nope, they might be grumpy today too. And I said, you might have noticed that I'm singing this in a grumpy voice. I've been stuck at home with the same people and I miss you and I'm just feeling really grumpy about it. Can you make a grumpy face? Let's sing it together, grumpy. Then we sang it sad, and then I sang it scared, and then I sang it joyfully, the way we would normally sing it, and just reminded them that it was okay to feel all of those feelings right now, especially right now. And that it was okay as long as we could notice that we were feeling that way and kind of name it. I'm grumpy. And then make a choice to either stay grumpy or move on to something else. And I would have done that in my classroom on a normal day. And I thought, well, this is our normal day now. So we're just going to do it like that.
We talked earlier a little about how parents are supporting or struggling and how you have a really simple piece of encouragement for them. I wouldn't call it advice so much, but go ahead and tell us again what you told me.
Yeah.
If I'm a parent of an elementary school student and we're going to go back online in any form or fashion, what is your hope and desire that they might embrace to support their youngster?
So remembering this is new for everybody. If you're new as the teacher, you're the parent, now you're the teacher. It's new for your child for you to be the teacher as well. And be patient with each other. And also, it's a great opportunity to connect with your child on the level of you show me. How would you teach this lesson? How would you like to learn about math today? Or how would you draw this picture? Or how would you tell me how to draw this picture? And, you know, children love to play school. They love to imitate what they see in the classroom. And it's a great way to give them an opportunity to lead without really being asked specifically to lead. And it's good practice for even peer to peer relationships.
Do you have a moment in the COVID time that will stick with you as you move forward? Maybe a funny moment, a sad moment, something that defined the times?
Yeah. Well, one story, one moment that was really a risk for me and turned out really well was I had play a game in my classroom. It's a game for vocal preparedness, and if they're hearing the pitches you sing, it's I sing to you and then you repeat it back to me. And I tossed this beanbag frog, and so I would toss it to a child in the circle in my classroom and say, "Jump, frog, jump." And then they have to toss it back to me and repeat that pattern. And then I might change that vocal pattern for the next child, but just to see if they could imitate the pattern. Well, I know that they love this game and I couldn't figure out how I would do it virtually, but I knew I had to get it in there somehow. So I figured out that if I held the frog here up near my face and put my other hand extended just under the view of the camera, that I could say, okay, it's time to jump, frog, jump. So listen closely and catch the frog and then toss it back to me. So I would sing, jump, frog, jump, and toss a frog and catch it just under the view of the camera. So it looked as though the frog had jumped through the screen. And then I'd lean my ear towards the screen to listen. And then I'd repeat it, quietly, jump, frog, jump. And then I would just like pop it back out of my hand and catch it. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. So I repeated the pattern, 3 or 4 different patterns. And I actually have this on my laptop. And I got several video responses from parents on Seesaw, which is an app we use to communicate with parents, of their children, them videotaping their children interacting with me, like catching the frog, like, oh, and then tossing it back. And, it was such a small moment, but I felt like for a second we really were connected. I also had several students, these were pre K students who were having trouble with their technology. And their parents would email me and say, we can't get on today. Like we can't get into the lesson. I'm not sure what's happening. And I would say, well, should we FaceTime? And so I would FaceTime with the student at their house and just sing the song with them. And I got several end of the year reports from students who said that was their favorite moment in music class this year was FaceTiming with Mrs. Schroeder-Lowrey to sing the welcome song.
Just for a quick second, when you talk about how you meet the student outside the class to meet their social emotional needs, this story about FaceTime really personifies it for the teachers. Could you share a moment or an encouragement or reflection about when you needed to meet a student that may not be in class?
Yeah, and I think that that is definitely one of the hardest shifts for me, especially with little people not being able to. We had an event, a socially distanced event at school, and all the little people walking by me, and I couldn't hug them. And I had to sit on the ground on my hands and just say, "Hi," because it is a huge shift. However, making the effort to FaceTime them, making the time, saying, "Yes, I'm still here for you," made a huge difference for me and for them. And I definitely heard from some parents who said, "That was so kind of you to," and for me, it's like, well, that's just what we do. That's just part of our job, is to make sure they have what they need. So,
And what you said before, and I'll just say it here again,
yeah.
they need to be seen.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. We became very focused on what our students needed. And one of the things that I noticed in our faculty meetings on Zoom was some of our faculty were definitely um, didn't look the same. You could see in people's faces that they were exhausted and or tense or disconnected or just, yeah, just not themselves. And one in particular definitely had my attention. And because I work with her students, I was looking at her videos in Seesaw. So because I would, post mine in with hers, and I just noticed she just looked different. And I know her to be a very engaging and joyful teacher. And I just one day decided to send her some flowers just to say, "I see you, and I see that this is a tough time, and just I'm with you, and I'm here, and whatever you need." And she emailed me back to say, "Thank you. That's it, isn't it? Just to be seen, just for someone, another adult or someone else to see what we're going through." And that's hard. You have to pay even more attention than you did before, because we're not in the hallway every day passing each other, and we're not hearing about the struggle you had with such and so, a lesson or a student, or at home even. There's so many things were happening in our homes, and we weren't having those opportunities, getting coffee or at lunch to share.
My last question is digging one step deeper into the flower story. In this school year, it seems as though you became a coach to your peers because of the role you have in the flourishing and positive psychology work. If you were to speak to the teachers who might be listening, what might you say to them in terms of their own grounding and safety and what they need to be their best teacher selves?
Yeah, so we did at the beginning of this shift our focus to what our students needed, and I think for a lot of us that who already as teachers, we tend to put ourselves last on the list, with our family and our students. It shifted us even further down. And part of what my job was to send an email with a little reminder every week, some sort of self-care reminder, um, whether it was a breathing exercise or a reminder to get outside and what awe and nature can do for your brain, um, or even the simple reminder to notice yourself, how you're feeling, and when you definitely need to walk away and take a break. When you're working in your home and your home becomes your work, you forget that you can go outside, that you can walk away for a few minutes, that you can end your day when you would normally end your day. And those kinds of reminders became really important uh, for all of us. So I think just remembering that you can't give from an empty well. I mean, I think that's the thing we forget. At the end of the day, when I've finished a work day and in this environment, this new environment, and I'm exhausted, if I haven't given myself some time in the middle of the day, I have nothing to give to my child and my husband who are there in my home. And still need, right? They still have need. Um, so taking that time for myself and filling my own well lets me fill them from the overflow.
Michelle, thank you so much. I wish my listeners could see the glow in your face when you share stories about your students and the learnings you had through this time. And we certainly appreciate you sharing them with us today.
Thank you so much for listening to the Do Tell Virtually podcast. We have a lot of others in our series if you're interested in how to become your best virtual self. Whether you are a speaker, a leader, trainer, teacher, facilitator, or salesperson. You can also check us out at our website at www.articulationinc.com. That's the word articulation, inc.com. Thanks for tuning in and spending a little time with us. Until next time, have a great day.